I got asked a question recently from someone that I was chatting to on Instagram that is starting up their agency and wanted a little bit of help. And their question was, Tom, do I need like this routine that I have to stick to every day and get up at 5 a.m.? And I was like, no, not really. And I think, right, this has a lot to do with this whole hustle culture that we see on social media, that we see on Instagram, on YouTube and LinkedIn. And it is so toxic. And I've spoken about this in the past. Like, it's not a relative way to live, right? And and I'm being very honest here. I'm not contradicting hard work, and I'm not saying it's the same as hustling. They're two very different things, right? Being hardworking, understanding your goals, understanding what you want to achieve, as opposed to hustling 24/7, getting 3 hours of sleep, not eating properly, not taking care of your mental and your physical health, is very different to hardworking. So just want to caveat that first. And basically the question was, do I need to get up at like 5 a.m. every morning? Do I need to have a set routine for the day? Do I need to have work blocks? And in a nutshell, no. And, I'm not saying this from I know everything, like everything is perfect for me. I am a very type of person that doesn't like structure or doesn't like routine. So for some people, having a structure and getting up at a certain time every single day, doing a certain thing at every single time of day works for them absolutely perfectly. And I'm not going to contradict that. But for me, as someone that probably has ADHD and as someone that likes to go with the flow a little bit, yet is hardworking and has achieved certain things that I want to achieve, having a set routine doesn't really matter to me. The most important thing is that I have a decent amount of sleep, right? If I go to bed at 1 a.m., if I go to bed at 12, 3 a.m. in the morning, I always make sure I get a decent amount of sleep, between 6.5 to 8, 9 hours if I can, right? And that is a great aspect for me. During the week, maybe 6, 7 hours. That's a good amount of time for me. On the weekend, I will sleep in a little bit more if my dog allows me to do so. And that is great for me because I can get up at a certain time. I wake up when I need to wake up. I will set an alarm, but 90% of the time, either my dog will wake me up or I'll wake up before my alarm. And I think if you can get yourself into a decent body clock where you're going to bed at the same time every day, you're waking up at roughly the same time, your body will over time get into its own cycle and it will wake up when it needs to wake up and you won't need an alarm unless you have meetings or things to do, right? So having that structure throughout the day, I only take calls between a certain amount of time. That's between 10 and 4 p.m. I have certain team calls at certain dedicated times every single week that we don't change unless it's an emergency or things crop up. And I think that accountability from a team perspective and a culture perspective is so important. But when it comes down to between 1 and 2 p.m., I have my work block where I do 30 minutes of dedicated work and 30 minutes and I set a timer and I do this. It just doesn't work for me. I get up at a reasonable time every morning. I have my breakfast, I take the dog for a walk, I check my emails, I catch up with the team, I'll then do our sales call for the day, I'll then go through to any discovery calls or team meetings that need to be done. And normally I don't take any calls after 5 p.m, 5:30 p.m, unless it's calls with clients overseas where that is a little bit inevitable. The only other thing that I do is we have our lunch at the same time every day. Sometimes I have breakfast, sometimes I don't. Depends what my calories are for the day and what they're fluctuating. But the other point to that is I revolve my day around what I need to do and not a specific structure that I need. So like I said earlier, I don't set a work block for 30 minutes. It just doesn't work for me. I will do work when I need to work. I will block out time in my calendar where I can't take calls because my calendar is synced with Calendly, so people can book in a certain amount of times. I block it off. If I know that I need to do something, I will block my calendar off to allow me time to do that. But I'm not going to be military precision to the moment and to the minute of everything I need to do within that particular time frame. It just absolutely doesn't work for me. And for some people it does, and some people it doesn't. And as long as I have that structure, I get up at the same time every day. I go to the gym at least 3 times a week, 4 times a week. I'll go to fencing on a Wednesday evening. And that is really the only structure that I have within my week. And that works really, really well for me. It means I can be super flexible with either seeing clients, going into London, seeing friends. And yes, I will come back after going out for dinner and I will check my emails and I will do some work. But that isn't a pressure of a hustle mentality. It's just me trying to get ahead of the day prior and not worrying or focusing on, oh no, I haven't done that today. My whole day My whole week, is planned in Monday.com. I have a board. I have all my items to do and I allocate days to each of them. If I don't get something done on that particular day, I'll move it to the next day. So literally I have all my bullet points, what I need to do in one particular day. And then I will have a tag for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or have one for the weekend, one for future, or like FYI. And I'll literally put them in a list, right? So just how I use paper every now and again for like jotting down ideas and things like that. My to-do list lives on Monday.com. I call it my battle plan. And that is how I structure my week. So I will put a card for each individual item that I need to do. So it might be, for example, to send a proposal to so-and-so person, to chase this lead, to send off an email to so-and-so, and I'll dedicate that to Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. I'll put the tag on it and I'll mark it as completed, and it will move automatically into the completed section. And that is pretty much how I keep track of everything that's going on. You don't need a routine every single day of every minute, working hour, and what you're going to do. For me, it just doesn't work. I like to have that freedom with a loose plan of what I need to do for the day. I think just like when it comes down to marketing, one of my team asked me, when they're working on my LinkedIn content, Tom, like, what is one bigger mistake that small businesses do with their marketing? And the first one that come to mind was overthinking it and over planning it and not actually getting started, procrastinating things over getting them done, right? And that works exactly the same with a routine and putting it into perspective for me as a person and an individual. It's not needed. I would rather have a loose plan of what I need to do, work through that day by day, and then you can go and build on from there. So no, you don't need a routine to be a successful entrepreneur, business owner, CEO, blah, 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 blah. It is not needed at all, unless that works for you as an individual and as a person, of course. Stay awesome, stay safe, but most importantly, stay nerdy.